ANC in KwaZulu-Natal has held its January 8 celebrations rally in Hammarsdale this past weekend. Speaking at the event, the Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, urging members to work on making a difference in their communities. Well, let's get some more now on what came out of that gathering, and we're joined by the KZN ANC Chairperson, Siboniso Duma. Mr. Duma, thank you very much for your time. Let's start with your key message here, and that is to inspire hope through accountability. What does that mean in practice?
Good morning, Baba Mngube, to your good viewers at home as well, the entire Newzroom Afrika team. I'm sure you've understood our theme to be decisive action. This year is a delicacy in ensuring that how we've been conducting ourselves, in some instances, people have not been equipped and liked our standards. So we ought to do better in terms of service delivery. We ought to ensure that if we've promised that we are going to deliver a road within 3 months, it must be implemented within 3 months. It's the same with the issue of energy crisis. I think we've been prolonged by the situation. ESCOM strategic people telling us that they will end load shedding without any validity. So we are saying this is a critical year. Let us go back to our communities. Let us make sure that what has been promised is what is going to be delivered to the standard that have been told it is going to happen. And we are going to monitor almost all our sphere governments, which is true.
Yeah. You were part of the ANC Lekgotla, which took place ahead of the Cabinet Lekgotla. And you speak about the energy crisis in the country. That is top of mind this week, particularly for ordinary South Africans. What should come out of the President's speech, you think, as leaders of KZN?
I think among the principal formulation is highlighting that we are declaring this as a disaster, so as to make sure that you fast-track the issue of procurement. It cannot just be business as usual. We should also reprioritize our appropriation bills so as to ensure that if there is a need, we said that we need 4 billion, it must be reprioritized so that we send a delegated team, probably from Minerals and Energy and from Treasury, to monitor as well that what has been designed at the level of ESCOM is what is going to be achieved, so that we are also aware, if we are saying that within 12 months ESCOM will end the load shedding, it must be known at that level. So I think that's what we are currently waiting and anticipating from the President, and we're glad that President Matamela has also highlighted that the issue of energy crisis also collapsed the systems of the economic outlook of the country. So it means that you might have less GDP. The SMMEs are going to suffer. The people who are relying almost on small business are suffering as we speak, because it means that what they get is not adequate. Then the load shedding is always dealing with them as well.
The safeguards, Mr. Duma, around the monies that will become immediately available to deal with this issue of a lack of energy in the country. I'm saying now, if indeed the President is going to announce a state of disaster, what should be the safeguards to make sure that corruption does not become the order of the day?
Decisive action means that the issue of monitoring and evaluation team must make sure that after this procurement, if there is a need for us to fire a bureaucrat who has not done a sterling job, do that instantly instead of delaying, instead of putting teams and delaying tactics within the bureaucrats. If there is a need for someone who's deployed as well, who's a commanding voice and giving wrong processes, let us also deliberate on those issues and deal with it. So I think the issue of the President who's going to be monitoring this process will also give assurance to South Africa. And I'm sure you know how we dealt with the issue of COVID, because it was declared as a disaster and we were able to manage some of the things. Otherwise, a lot of people would have died if it was not monitored, although there were some discrepancies because it was still a new thing. We had never had a lived experience. So we know now when we talk about disaster, what ought to be done. So it's going to be the same with the team of ESCOM. It means that the high caliber people must be sent and deployed there and must also do all the due diligence to make sure that we circumvent and we change the situation.
Yeah. Your province has had a number of issues, and these are issues that touch people on the ground. I'm talking about crime levels. Just last week, we observed police teams descending to KwaZulu-Natal on the back of the shootings that occurred in KwaMashu. There are issues of service delivery, given that that province suffered a huge disaster in the April floods. Before then, it was the July unrest. What for you specifically in KZN would you like to see come out of this SONA that will inspire confidence for the people of KZN?
I think what becomes critical is how the president wants to deal with the issue of lawlessness, because you find that even our economy in some instances will allow the issue of cartels to be giving the direction. The issue of arms in South Africa, you find an ordinary civilian having more than one ammunition and one firearms, and you'll find that the police might play their role in arresting those people. But it is the judicial system that must make sure that such people in the communities are not found. But it will take a very strong and a vibrant communities just to make sure that from now onwards, the issue of law enforcement is not only abdicated to a level of SAPS, is not only abdicated to the level of government. We need to revive street committees, because the reality is that there is no one who will come from Joburg just to go and commit burglary or kill people in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Within those communities, those criminals are being known, and in some instances they are being protected. So government must elevate in ensuring. We're glad that there's been some increment on the numbers of police in terms of machinery, which is going to assist, but it will never be adequate until the ratio is known, because currently we've got less than 300,000 police services against the population of 60 million. So the ratio is very skewed, but we must make sure that let us entice all the component and deal with it, the crime, as a communities, as a society.
Mr. Duma, I'm completely out of time, literally in less than 20 seconds. How wide should the cabinet reshuffle that will be mounted by the president be? And I'm asking this in the context of the deputy president, at least at the level of government, saying this past weekend that he has asked the president to leave office. He's effectively resigned, but the president has asked him to stay on just a little bit longer. So how wide should that cabinet reshuffle be effected by the president?
I think we are gazing towards the direction of fit for purpose, what ought to be done. I think we need those who are still energetic, who understand that already people are losing touch and patience with the ruling party, but they are happy in some instances, some of the things that have been achieved. So when you deploy, just make sure that you need someone who's going to hit the ground running, not someone who must start afresh, adapt, and prolong some of the matters. I think that's what the president is going to do, and will implement almost all the resolution taken in the Lekgotla and in the conference. So that's what we must do, and I'm sure we are ready to proceed and make sure that we take 2023 towards 24, because we all understand what it means in terms of the voter insurance and at the voter understanding that we must give this organization a chance again.
That's the ANC's chairperson in KwaZulu-Natal, Siboniso Duma, talking to us there about their expectations of the SONA.